Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Formula Racing League Pure Sim Gear GT3 Masters. We're back once again. It's season 10. We had an excellent race last week at Imola, and now it's time for round 3. We'll be getting to all the details momentarily, but bringing you all the action from the commentary box tonight. And on behalf of 00 Raven Comms, my name is George Cook, and I am joined by none other than Rob Barker. Rob, how are you doing tonight, mate?
Good evening, George, and welcome all to today's event. Very much looking forward to the race.
Good to have you here as always. And today, folks, we are at one of my favorites. It's Bathurst, also known as Mount Panorama. I'm a little biased because I'm actually from that part of the globe, but nonetheless, it's arguably one of the greatest circuits in the world. We've got 4 classes racing in the GT3 Masters: Pro, Silver, Pro-Am and Am categories, and today in this live stream, we are obviously covering the Pro drivers. The sister channel, Formula Racing League TV2, streaming the Pro-Am drivers. Prizes for the victors in each category across the season is a lovely pair of Pure Sim Gear sim racing gloves. So a big thank you to our sponsors, Pure Sim Gear. So brief overview of our schedule today. First up, a bit of information about track conditions and weather. Then we'll go through our standings and talk about who will be getting the success ballast applied to their cars. A bit of information about Bathurst, and then 15 minutes of qualifying to set the grid and a 60-minute race. So over to you, Rob. What are we in for today, and how are things looking out on track?
Yeah, not too bad actually. The weather at Bathurst is looking excellent. It's dry with an ambient temperature of 20 degrees C. No rain today forecast. There's a mandatory pit stop for all of the grid today. You must change your tyre, but no refueling, it will be allowed. So we'll be watching fully laden cars dive up and down the mountain of Bathurst and fighting for those top spots in qualifying.
Excellent. Sounds like fun. Looking back now to the results, and please bear in mind, drop rounds are already being included, so not much changing since Imola, but our current standings are Nigel Tarrant still leads the way in the standings, but a DNF at Imola after taking victory at Spa. Krzysztof Szczecki moves up second in the standings on the back of victory at Imola. Marco Keddy, who's not on the grid today, it looks like, holds third place after a round to forget at Imola, only finishing P10. Dan Edvardsen moves up to the up in the standings to fourth, overtaking Lucas Weiss with a brilliant P2 at Imola. Lucas Weiss, fifth place, falls down the grid after not being able to participate at Imola. Nico Velbum moves up to sixth in the championship, finishing with a podium at Imola. Grigory Ivanov, currently 7th in the standings, finished at 4th at Imola, moved himself up into the top 10. Max Leinart, despite taking 4th at Spa, remains in 8th place in the standings. And then Janko de Hartog moves into the top 10, now 9th position with a great race at Imola, finishing in 5th. And to round it all out, Zach Duran with a DNS at Imola, sadly, but keeps his position to round out the top 10.
And rounding up the drivers from P11 through to P20, Tomas Nopek's P7 last time out, he remains in P11. Oleski Panchenko in P12, P7 in round 1, and opted to take a drop in round 2. P13 we have Alec Zatdal, P14 Salva and Rubia, DNF last week for him. He'll be looking to get some more points this evening. P15 for James Cowley, P9 last time out. Tom, excuse me, just choking on my words there. Malepsi is P16. Benjamin Eck takes P17, P11 last time out for him, and a drop round in round 1. P18, Emil Madston. P19 we have Artemenko, who took a drop round last week, and rounding up the final in P20, Martin Lindrup. P13 at last time out for him, and a drop round in round 1.
Excellent. So it's all still to play for, and we're going to be looking towards the grid. Drop rounds will certainly make this interesting. And now let's talk about success ballast. So the top 5 from the previous race all get success ballast applied to their cars, and that will be today. Szczecki will take 25 kilograms, Edvardsen will take 20 kilograms, Veldman 15 kilograms, Ivanov will take 10, and Hartog will take 5 kilograms. So to add to a fully laden car, it's going to make things interesting. Now, let's talk about today's circuit, Bathurst. What a track. We're about 3.8 miles, 6.2 kilometers, founded back in 1938, and really unchanged since 1987. Located in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia, we've got 23 corners, 14 to the left, 9 to the right, with an elevation change, one of the biggest in the season. 174 meters of elevation change, and for you Berks over in America, that's 571 feet. The Conrod Straight, 1.9 kilometers, very, very long. Of course, it's the home of Supercars Series and to many other motorsports events, including the Intercontinental GT Challenge and the TCR World Tour. Formula One, of course, in modern times, does not come to Bathurst, but it actually did make an appearance here back in the old days. 1938, I believe it was, Peter Whitehead took victory here in the English Racing Automobiles R6B, the old ancient Formula One cars. Can't even imagine what that would have been like. But an epic and favourite outing for Australian motorsports fans. The circuit exists thanks to the mayor at the time, Martin Griffin, who has a corner named after him.
Indeed, the 6.2 kilometre long track makes Bathurst one of the longest circuits in motorsport. It features a combination of high-speed straights and the infamous tight and twisty section. The skyline offers a breathtaking view of Bathurst. The drivers take the crest completely blind, making it a heart-pounding moment before taking a leap of faith into the S's. The iconic Bathurst 1000s had seen legends such as Peter Brock, Craig Lowndes and James Winnup littered with success here, but who will be taking the spoils this evening?
Well, that's the question. We will jump over to our track walk in just a second, so give me just a moment here, folks. So, track walk today, as you can see, it is a very, very long track. Mount Panorama, of course, as it's known, but more commonly known as Bathurst, after the town that it's located near. But starting off at the pit straight on that little square bit at the right-hand side, through Hell Corner for T1, up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, not Quarry Bend. The cutting through the quarry, up the hill towards Tillman Park, starting Sector 2 through McPhallamy Park, and then down to the fun bit, the S's, the Dipper, and then we've got the elbow down towards the bottom of the track as you come off the hill into Sector 3, down the Hanger Straight, also known as the Conrod Straight, and then through the Chase, and then finally rounding out, it is Murray's Corner. It's a brilliant circuit, very, very technical, and very tricky to set up the cars for it as well, Rob. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one today, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's always been a struggle at Bathurst for me. Not one of my favourites for sure, but it always makes an epic battle to the checkered flag.
Excellent. So we are going to go on to our qualifying 15 minutes momentarily, folks. But at the moment, we're currently sitting in a position where the free practice is a little bit delayed. So we've got about 5 minutes remaining in free practice. The server starting up just a little later than usual. So we've got a little bit of extra time before we go on track. So we'll go and do a little bit of a fly around, so to speak, of the track and check out what's happening on field until then. But now over to our third qualifying of Season 10, and very much looking forward to what's going to be going on today. It's going to be quite the exciting race. So let's jump down onto track, and we'll give everyone a little idea. As we'll jump out here, we'll give everyone an idea of what this place looks like, because it is absolutely brilliant. Of course, it's Australia, so it's very dry out there, as you can tell. Not a lot of moisture out on track, and as Rob mentioned earlier, we've got some pretty hot track temperatures out there. It's currently 27 degrees on the track, 19 degrees ambient, so it's cooled down just a little bit in the air, as is usual with these mountain conditions. And yeah, just a welcome in, of course, to everyone in chat as well. Lovely to have you all in here. And hope you enjoy the race today. For those of you who are racing, good luck, because you're going to need it. And as Alan Brown has mentioned in the chat, the Walls of Death, he calls this place. So a fairly apt name, I'd say.
Yeah, that's very, very tight sections up and over the mountain. Very easy to just one small mistake, and there's absolutely no runoff areas in some of the sections, particularly through the S's, and a connection with the wall is probably going to put your race to an end.
Yeah, that's right. The top of the hill there is very, very tricky and complicated, and the S's as well. As you come down Skyline through the S's, the car gets all sorts of out of shape. The suspension starts to max out, and the car starts to fall away from you, so it's very tricky to navigate, and especially as you get down towards Forest Elbow at the bottom of the hill, where the incline starts to get quite significant. At that stage of the race, yeah, you're going to find that the car wants to fall away from you. It doesn't want to behave at all, and especially when you start to lose tyre life, start to lose grip, it's going to make it really, really challenging. And of course, full fuel on board for these races, so it really does make it a big challenge. As you can see, this is right in the middle of the township, and we're going up the hill at the moment. This is where things start getting tricky. that Griffin's Bend turn 2 that we've just flown by now, this lovely drone camera, trying to do my best with the drone operation at the moment. I'm not exactly the best drone flyer in the world, so excuse any rapid movements. Hopefully it's nice and smooth for everyone. But that section there coming up towards the cutting here, and the cutting you rapidly turn into the left, and then suddenly you're in this incredible bend that comes up here, and we'll try and capture some of the cars as they fly into this section of the track. Gets very bumpy, and in some cases kind of off camber. If you miss the internal camber of the apex here, you are going to be absolutely sent off track.
Yeah, it's just probably one of my personal, as I said, I'm not particularly versed with Bathurst. I do try and avoid it if I possibly can. That section there, that sort of double A, so kind of like a double apex left-hander as you go through the kink, you sort of onto the brakes so as you work your way up the hill. It's just a very tricky one to get right, as is the double right just coming up as we sort of reached the highest point of the mountain. Another double right-hander cutting it very close as it flicks left. The tyre wall is very close to the track as well as it flicks in left. Very easy to make a mistake there, clipping the inside as you go through.
Yeah, it makes for an interesting section, and it's a real full send kind of area of the track as well. You need to be absolutely flat as much as possible through this section to maximize the time. You can treat it almost as a straight at the top of the hill, which is insane considering there's about 7 or 8 corners in a row here. As you can see, all the cars will be glancing with the barriers. There's really no room to overtake up the hill, even down the hill. You've got to be very opportunistic and very brave up here. There's many of the greats, especially the Australian motorsport greats, that have talked about this section of the track. There's just full commitment, and if you're not fully committed, then you need to get out. A phrase that I like to use is, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the warp core. In this case, get out of the V8 turbocharged engine, I think.
Yeah, I know you Aussie guys absolutely love Bathurst and love the supercars that they race around here, the V8 supercars. Some incredible action. Me personally, absolutely love the Bathurst 24-hour that was recently on.
Yeah.
It's always an absolute spectacle as the night falls and they are working their way down the mountain. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it is great to see. It's quite a spectacle. And the sound as well. I've still, unfortunately, not been able to go to a live race at Bathurst, unfortunately. But it is absolutely on my bucket list to go and do it. And I'll tell you, the Aussie fans and Kiwi fans absolutely love this place. There's not many that don't, actually. I have to admit, I've not met many fellow Kiwis or Australians that do not have a really soft spot for this incredible track. And yeah, just the amount of chaos we've seen in years past at this place, especially down the hill, which we're just flying through now. Very tricky. A great opportunistic overtake place into the elbow here, down the hill and down to one of the most famous straights, the Conrod Straight, which brings them into part of the circuit that is probably the hardest, actually, because you're going to be barreling down this straight here and getting up to speeds of 280 kilometers an hour. I don't know what that translates into miles an hour, Rob. You'll have to maybe try and do the translation for me, but it's pretty quick.
280 is about 170, just over 170 miles an hour.
Sounds pretty quick to me.
Quick.
Yeah.
We'll call it quick.
Yeah, we'll call it quick. Technical term, very quick, and a huge braking zone here. All the rubber that's been laid down on the track. This is where it is. You can see the cars just flying in here. You've got to get the car slowed down so quickly, so rapidly here, and then turn right in. The tires are on fire. The brakes are on fire at this point as he's throw it into the chase and come down the last part of the track. Of course, the pit lane entry there. Which you can see one of the cars going into right now and making a bit of a mess of it, unfortunately, into the final corner, which is Murray's Corner. So it is a brilliant little circuit here, and I'm very much looking forward to the race here. Big, heavy GT3 cars because they're going to be full of fuel, and that's going to make things, I think the technical word for that, Rob, is spicy.
Spicy is indeed the technical term. Just the free practice session is now over. We are just on the 1 minute cool down. Some absolutely phenomenal times. Quite a number of sub 2 minute. Yeah, like I said, I am not the quickest person in the world around this track, but I think from memory, GT3 car, I'm looking about at 203, 204s, and these guys are already going sub 2 minutes, which is just astonishing. So fast.
It is very, very quick. Yeah, 2-minute laps around here are incredibly impressive. I think the real world times are sort of around that area as well, so we're not too far off, maybe a couple of seconds faster, because obviously we are in game, but there's a lot about this circuit that the PC version of ACC, which we're on now, does simulate, and that includes the actual starvation of the engines, the amount of oxygen that's available at the top of the hill as you go up. So there is a change in performance for these cars as they fly up the hill, and obviously when they come down as well, that'll affect fuel usage, it'll affect power, the ability to get the power down on the track. And of course, it's a very, very hot out there, 27 degrees on track, so the tyres are going to take a bit of a brutalizing. 60-minute race, of course, so they don't have to worry about tyres during qualifying as much. Those qualifying tyres will last plenty of time. But once they get into the race, they're going to have to look after those tyres just a little bit and try and find their way around for maybe 30 minutes. I mean, strategy-wise, probably looking to half the race, 30 minutes on a set of tyres, although the tyres will probably last all the way up to 45 minutes to an hour. Depends a little bit on the car, so we'll see how people go later on. But currently leading the charge out on the field at the moment, first in the, well, not technically on the grid, but first out on track and just finishing his first out lap. It is Ivanov, and he's been pretty keen to get out on track. Always straight on the buzzer, wants to be out with some clean air behind him. We do have Stachecki as well, who I think they might have finally put a livery on that, and it doesn't look like they have, actually, I'll be honest with you. So Grigory Ivanov, of course, sitting currently in P4 in the championship, I believe. Stachecki coming in currently in second. He's in 7th, that's right. So he got a P4 finish, I think it was at Imola, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, so that'll make things a little bit interesting.
Yeah, his quick in practice as well was Ivanov. He was very much up towards the top end of the timing sheets with some excellent laps, as was Panchenko in the 39. McLaren currently about 14th in the pack at the minute. Very, very quick in the practice. Stachecki, P2 in the championship, also put in some excellent lap times in during the practice session. I think we will be expecting to see some a few more 159s in quali. Will Pole be able to slot into the 58s, or I think I'm pushing it a little bit too far now? But yeah, I'm expecting to see a 159, low 159 time if you really want to put yourself on pole position, looking at those practice lap times.
Yeah, the 159 is definitely what the chaps here need to be aiming for. It's very tricky to get a lap hooked up, though. That's probably the trickiest thing. Of course, being a 2-minute lap, you're not going to get too many of those in a 15-minute qualifying. Sort of maybe 6, maybe 7 laps if you're lucky. And yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on the chaps as they go through. Looks like we've already had an incident here. Benjamin Eck has run very, very deep and hit the wall, it looks like. So that'll be him back to the pits to get the car repaired up and get out again. Down the Comrade Straight does go Ivanov, so we'll keep an eye on his car now as he will be coming across the line in a couple of corners and setting our benchmark times with Stachecki behind him. So it's all to play for, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what kind of timings these chaps are going to be capable of. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see it. Oh, that's very wide at Murray's corner, runs onto the grass, not going to help him out. It's going to be a 2-minute flat, 0.1. And Stachecki goes 0.26 of a second behind him, so not quite. We're very close to the 159s, Rob, but not quite meeting it just at the moment.
Yeah, I think it definitely, if the guys out there at the minute, they will probably go straight again with another qualifying lap. I don't think they will stop, other than obviously if damage has been taken, as we see Garby pop his car in the 221 McLaren, pops his car into P2, Veldman into P4 at the moment. Panchenko with a P5 time, 5/10 of a second off at the pole position, all very, very close. In fact, the top 8 drivers all within a second and Rubla in P6 at the moment, with Verona in 7th. Very quick in practice. Verona definitely wanting to improve that time. Hartog currently in P8. Again, will want to improve on that time. He was going significantly faster in practice. I think Artemenko just pops himself into P6 there, George. I think that was the case.
Yep, that's absolutely right. Yeah, good little lap there from Artemenko. So just sitting in the high point of I think we just had Rubia move back to the pits, but just in the high 2 minutes at the moment. Ivanov, I think he's just, I don't know if he's had an issue there. The car doesn't look damaged, but he has let Stachecki get by. So Stachecki will move forward at the moment and continue setting his lap, so potentially an invalidation there from Ivanov at the top of the hill. Through Forest Elbow they go, and yeah, we'll see if Stachecki can improve. He's only 0.2 away from that top spot at this stage, and it's not a lot of gap. I think Ivanov is just backing out of this completely. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe going to return to the pits, throw on a new set of tyres and repair any damage that he has. But Stachecki in the McLaren looking very, very good. The McLarens traditionally have been pretty awful here until the introduction of the Evo variant of the 720S, and then things started to look a little bit better. It's a very particular setup you have to have on the car, but you know, in amongst the best cars today will be probably the BMWs, the Audis, a lot of the MR cars, and looks like a slight improvement from Stachecki, but not enough to get him on the grid. That's Gardby coming into the pits, so no lap time set by him. Veldman in that beautiful Audi. I love this livery on the 29 car. He's coming across the line now. Can he displace anyone from the top of the grid? No, actually gets displaced himself by Verona in the other Audi, the 402 car. And yeah, he'll move down the grid by 1 position.
Getting towards the spicy end of the qualifying session, just 8 minutes remaining now. A few cars are have stopped, gone into the pits, got themselves probably a fresh set of tyres, cool down for a couple of minutes, get themselves back out on track. Obviously she's quite a long track and the traffic is quite heavy, so finding yourself a nice gap to set in at that ultimate lap time can also be tricky. As we see a yellow flag there momentarily, did I?
I think you did,
No,
but
I think we're good.
yeah, I think the drivers have been pretty quick on the buzzer to send themselves back to the pit and get out. They know that the installation lap alone is going to cost them about 2.5 minutes. So if you were, for example, in the pits now, you'd come out and you'd only have about 5 minutes to set laps. So Zach Dahl seems to be having a whole bunch of issues, and Artemenko is in the wall. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, so I think having a little bit of a crash there or a spin, and that's certainly not been ideal. Ivanov going slowly here at the back straight, letting a bit of traffic go, which might not work out for him. He's going very slow through the final corner, Murray's corner, and hopefully for him, he'll be able to get a good lap in, because he's starting to run out of time just a little bit. That out lap was about 4 minutes, so he spent a little bit of time in the pits as well. Currently no change to the standings as far as I can tell, but we will continue to keep an eye.
Yes, Stachecki just puts in a 2-minute flat,
Oh.
and that has put him on P1 for Stachecki. So fantastic lap from him. Currently provisional pole with, sorry, my time is probably about 6.5 minutes remaining.
Yep, spot on. So Stachecki, that's a great lap from him. 0.17 of a second from 59. So he'll be maybe a little disappointed he didn't get quite to that point, but I'm sure he'll come out for another couple of laps. Another standout here was Benjamin Eck, who put himself up momentarily into P6. That's been taken away again now by, I believe, Veldman. He's put himself a little bit further up the grid. So the Lego Mercedes is looking rather rapid here. I've driven the Mercedes at Bathurst, Rob. It's a bit of a beast to handle. It's the FR nature of it. The tail just wants to swing out. Of course, all the weight sort of loaded up at the front, especially down the hill here. Very, very dodgy to deal with. And oh dear, that I think was a big incident there for Ivanov. He's once again had to come into the pits. It's not looking good for him, is it?
Well, it's currently sat P2, just 1/10 of a second. I said, you know, it was a little bit more in the earlier practice session. I don't think he will be overly disappointed with his position. It's currently in P2. Good starting, clear air. Oh!
Wow.
Exit stage right.
Yeah, quite literally. There is a corner there. I guess they didn't want to go through Hell Corner. They were trying to find the gates of heaven. Right.
Yeah, very fast moving car there. Not sure who that was, but completely forgot to brake during that corner.
Quite impressive
Benjamin
to see,
Eck
actually.
with a phenomenal lap time there from Benjamin Eck, promotes himself up into P4 now, just 0.2 of a second behind the pole sitter Christoph Stachecki. So excellent lap from Benjamin Eck in the Lego liveried Mercedes.
Yeah, that's great stuff from Eck, and he's been down the grid, so this is going to be one of his best performances in qualifying if he can hold on to that position. Of course, we do have a lot of people who will be improving in the next few minutes. 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go in this qualifying. Look at the great view we've got on board from, oh, that looked like a bit of contact with the wall there. On board with Gardby at the minute. And crikey, that was some pretty terrifying stuff. He's gone very sideways at Forest Elbow and completely compromised his lap there. So that will be his lap over. He'll come into the pits and get that repaired. Very tricky out there to get things hooked up because, you know, it's the full send nature of this course. It really requires a driver to be at the absolute limit of what they're capable of. And if they're not at that absolute limit, you're not going to get a good time. Anything, you know, if you're not going flat out, there's no way you'll get into the 2 minutes, let alone a 159. 159 laps are super impressive to behold because they are pretty much perfect. Just on board now with Bezalov in the 17 car. The Audis looking fairly strong today. As I said before, the MR nature of most of these cars up the top of the grid is what's helping them at this track. Traditionally, the MR cars are pretty rubbish up and down the hill, but actually in ACC, they're quite nice. And oh, Bezalov takes pole position there with a 159.8, so our first 59 runner across the line. Bezalov, 2P1.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal lap from Bezalov there, 159.8. He will be super happy with that lap, I am sure. And I can't see many more people having another crack at this. I think there'll be maybe one lap for a few of the drivers, but yeah, very little time left now in this qualifying session. Will Bezalov keep hold of P1?
That's the question. Stachecki and Pachenko both starting another lap here, and Ivanov is about halfway through, just coming up the hill through towards Sulman Park and McPhallamy Park, and very tricky corners up there. See if he can get something done. He's about 0.1 of a second up on his time, so that's not going to be good enough to take him up into the top 3 again, but he's been royally booted out by the likes of Bezalov. Come out of nowhere and set that incredible time.
Yeah, phenomenal. Like, quite astonishingly, George, just looking at the time, you know, less than a second between P1 and P14. P15, just marginally over a second from the pole sitter, or the current provisional pole sitter. So everybody's absolutely on a charge this evening.
Yeah, that's incredible to see, especially with the 1 second difference. It's absolutely nothing on track like this. Well, it's nothing and it's everything, isn't it, Rob? It's really, you know, it's a bit of a mix between the two things. And just looking down there, we've got Santo and Rubia both improving on their time at the moment. Pachenko also improving on his time through the S's, down through Forest Elbow. He goes. Domokos Akis has just had a bit of an issue. And Ivanov, Ivanov's in the wall again, sadly. So he's had another issue there, unfortunately. That's going to ruin this lap. Have to go out for another one, a 201.6, that previous lap. No one else in the top 14 really improving that much. Garby's on a bit of a charge right now, but he is just starting a lap at this stage. 1 minute, 30 seconds to go, and it's all about putting that lap together now. Obviously, they've all got the time because most of them are sitting very close to those 59 times, only a second in it. They just need to put a lap together, and that's the challenge of this place. It's you know, it's all well and good being fast in a few corners, but if you can't string a lap together around this unbelievably difficult circuit, then yeah, you're just not going to find the time, sadly.
Yeah, as you said, you know, you've alluded to a couple of times now, it is absolute full commitment through those tight, twisty sections, particularly over the top of the crest to get that 159. It's just blown away by that lap time, George. Genuinely am blown away by that lap time. Phenomenal stuff from the drivers, and 42 or just under 40 seconds remaining of the qualifying session. Just looking out on track now to see if there's anybody going quicker. On board with Gardby right now as he makes his way down the Conrod Straight. eat up on time? Who knows?
There we go. So he's currently 0.3 of a second up on his time. So that's going to put him in a very...
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's gained a little bit of time there. Maybe just lost a little bit on exit. If he can find a couple of tenths here, he could be all to play for. I know it's Stachecki has just gone purple in the middle sector. We'll go on board with him momentarily. Let's just wait and see if there's any time to gain here for Garby. No, he's lost time through Murray's corner, but it's good enough for P5. Well done to him there. Good little lap. Stachecki now coming through the rear, but he's lost out down the hill. So he's unfortunately not making up any more time at this stage of the race. Will he be able to pull something off in the last couple of corners? He's got a lot of work to do now. The only others that are improving at this point are Artemenko, who's 0.3 of a second up at this stage. Not going to be good enough for the top 5. And then Benjamin Eck, who's now down in P6, but slightly up on his time. Just found a 10th somewhere around the track. But for everyone crossing the line now, it is qualifying done. And the grid, I suspect, is not going to change a lot at this stage. Yeah, so this could be it. And we'll keep an eye on Pachenko as well. He's just coming across the line. Did momentarily find just a little bit of time. Is it going to be good enough to go? No, so he's backed out of that just a little bit. Stachecki across the line as well. Does not improve at all. So your top 3 at the moment looking pretty much solidified. Bezelhoff's in the pits. The only person else remaining on track at the moment is actually Benjamin Eck. And a few down the order of the grid. Gonzalez improving as well, 0.3 of a second. Can Benjamin Eck pull something out in that Lego Mercedes? Let's see. No, so it doesn't make it any improvement, unfortunately, for Eck. And that'll pretty much round things out. But Rob, what a qualifying we've seen.
Unbelievable stuff from the drivers there. Super close competitive times there. So Pachenko is your pole sitter for this evening with Grigor Ivanov in P2, and Garby takes P3. Oh no, sorry, P5. Pachenko, that's P3.
Oh, sorry, yes,
I completely apologise.
No worries there, mate. No worries. Yeah, so it is Bezelhoff who takes the win, Stachecki, and then Pachenko. So yeah, unfortunately for Pachenko, he didn't make a rapid fly up the grid.
I thought it's. I do apologise. Obviously, I'm. Yeah, with Pitwall not being in front of me right at the moment. Yeah, I've got quite a bad mistake on that one, so I do apologise to the drivers.
Quite all right. All right, well, we're going to go through and start our track walk. So let me get this all hooked up here for us, but looking forward to going racing. So on pole position in the 17 car is Bezelhoff. What a lap. Absolutely amazing. The only driver to get into the 59s today. Then Stachecki rolls onto the front row of the grid, P2, P3, Pachenko. And then we've got Ivanov, who was looking fast, but just kept making mistakes, sadly. P5 will go to Garby. It's a great result for him, one of his top qualifyings. Benjamin Eck is best qualifying by a long shot. Zakdal sitting there in P7 currently. Verona in P8 joins him on that row of the grid. Veldman in P9. Veldman's high up in the championship standing, so he'll need to make some results happen. In Rubia in P10. Artemenko in P11. Taran will take P12, not his best qualifying, and he's still leading the championship as it stands. Hartog, who won came 3rd or 4th place in Imola, P13. P14 to Rodriguez. Cowley will take P15. Santo in P16. We've got Gonzalez in P17. Domokos Kiss in the 220 Audi in the 18 car there, P19 to the Porsche driver of Keenan, and then Saberlia, who we haven't seen on the grid in the last couple of races, in the McLaren there, red McLaren, P20, P21 to Curtin, and then we've got Chris Schneider here in the Ferrari 296, P22, and then a very dark-looking BMW there from Alan Brown. He's been in the chat earlier on, so P24 goes to Fernandez, and rounding out the grid will be Les. So, all really to play for at this stage, Rob. I'm very much looking forward to it. There will be an installation lap that all of the drivers will go through now, so we'll keep an eye on board. But predictions, strategy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with the hour-long race temperature, I don't think it was as hot as we saw last week, and they managed the one stop absolutely fine. People pitting around the 50% mark of the race, but if I do remember correctly, there was an absolute worldie of a strategy call. I cannot remember the driver who did it, George. I don't know if you can remember who he ran a little bit longer on these initial stint and probably one of the later to box, but gained a significant amount of time towards the end of the race, picked up a few spots. So yeah, it's a difficult one to call. Same again, you need to be really looking after those tyres, feeling what the tyres are doing underneath the car, and managing it for that. It is a 1 hour race, so yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's a good call. I'm trying to remember as well. I get the feeling it might have been either Veldman or Edvardsen, but they were right up. The top three were battling all the way through Imola. So also struggling a little bit to remember who had that amazing strategy call. I do remember that there was a good strategy call though. So yeah, hopefully our memories will return to us at some point. But nonetheless, a few folks missing from this race today. Oh, excuse me. So currently we do not have the likes of Keddy on the grid, so Marco Keddy not here today. Lucas Weiss also not in the grid at Bathurst today, so for whatever reason couldn't make it down to Australia. That's unfortunate for them. They're missing out because it's a great race, or maybe they're just of the similar opinion of you, Rob. Let's go. Bathurst, nah.
Well, there is a drop round obviously in this season, but quite a few of the drivers have already opted to take that drop. Current championship leader Tarin sat on 56 points. He got a DNF last time out, so he takes a drop. Takes a drop there. P1 in round 1, and not with us tonight, I don't believe. I haven't seen him on the grid as of yet. Krzysztof Stojecki currently sat in P2. He took his drop round from round 1, so he's on 55 points for him. He'll be looking to improve and potentially take P1 away from Turin. As you've already mentioned, Marco Keddy, current P3, also taking a drop round, misses tonight. Dan Edvardsen, who I do believe did make the excellent strategy call last time out, currently P4. He's not with us tonight either. So yeah, quite a few drivers missing, and the ones that are here towards the top, they've got it all to play for because there are points to be picked up.
Correct. Yeah, this will be a big round, especially for the likes of Bezelhoff, who this is his first time being this high up the grid, hasn't managed it in the season so far. So I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on Bezelhoff today. I thought he might have been a bit quicker at the previous rounds, but because he did show some very good pace in practice, just maybe not able to extract that pace, but today really has, because the 59 during qualifying was absolutely stonking. All the cars now going down the Conrod straight. For the first time, doing a bit of tyre warming, a bit of brake warming, all that sort of jazz. The drop rounds are an interesting one, and how they work is quite interesting as well. I don't know how much of a decision the drivers have in it. I think the way that it works with this season is that they automatically drop their worst result, and that's why the standings have been a little bit odd. Like at this point of the race, at this point of the championship, you'd expect no one to really be dropping rounds unless you had a DNF or a DNS, but from what I could tell, it looks like everyone's been forced to actually drop around. So it might be working that way. We'll confirm to make sure we have the up-to-date information, but the drivers will begin lining up on the grid. So the grid needs to just compact a little bit. Come on, everyone, make sure you're in the right location here. We're getting close to the start of the race. Get closer, get closer. But Rob, any final thoughts before we take things away?
Yeah, just for me, absolutely all eyes on Bezelhoff, currently sat P21 with a DNF and a P14, but also showing absolutely phenomenal pace in both practice and obviously in the qualifying session. So he'll be looking to make ends meet as they come around the final corner. George, over to you for the race start.
Cool, here we go. So we're about to go green here. 60 minutes at Bathurst. It is 60 minutes for the Pure Sim Gear GT3 Masters. We are away, and it's a good start for Bezelhoff. But, oh, looking up the inside was Stojecki, but he had Pachenko there and didn't give him space at all. So nearly a huge accident off the grid, but Bezelhoff gets away nicely. Ivanov will jump up into P2. As it stands right now, Stojecki with that bad start, having contact with the car there. the purple liveried McLaren. Benjamin Eck as well has had a fantastic start, so into Griffin's Bend for the first time, and Ivanov, yes, will secure that P2 position, and Bezelhoff driving away with it at this stage of the race. Zach Dahl has moved up a couple of positions as well, but in the first time into the cutting, let's see how things are going. The grid is reorganizing itself as we stand. Brilliant start there from most, but yeah, unfortunately for Stuchecki, not the greatest start, so he's fallen behind Ivanov at this stage. Ivanov will be stoked with that, gone from P4 up to P2 in a matter of corners in this case. So Pedchenko there, unfortunately having, and running very, very wide into Skyline they go. Careful, please do not do that. No one else on the grid having any major issues, everyone taking it easy. Oh, Benjamin Eck not taking it easy there, and into the wall. Unfortunately, that's going to back up the entire grid behind him. He's going to have a lot of work to do, probably a little bit of damage. Luckily for him, the Mercedes not too bad with front splitter damage, but he'll have to be very careful because on the back of him is Gardby and Zach Dahl, who are going to be very, very fast. This top four starting to break away, and we've had a major incident down the grid. We've had a major incident down the grid, yeah, at Skyline. A huge incident there. We've got 5 cars involved, less. Chris Schneider, Siberia, we've got Cowley, Keese, and Curtin all having a major issue. Curtin still trying to get back on the track and manages to do so, but crikey, that's the major incident that's happened down the grid. Certainly not ideal, but down into Murray's corner for the first time and still in the lead, Bezelhoff, but he's got Ivanov right behind him, Rob. What a start, good start overall.
Yeah, incredible stuff there. So Ivanov will be super happy with his start of the race, managed to jump a couple of positions. I think Stuchecki and Pachenko very unfortunate to make the very, very small amount of contact, but that's all Ivanov needed to get a better run down into turn 2, so he'll be super stoked with his start. Bezelhoff absolutely nailed the start as well. Also Benjamin Eck with a very solid start. Unlucky for the drivers at the back there, a lot of damage to those cars. They will be in on lap 1 to make those repairs and hopefully get back out on track. Don't forget, this is an hour-long race. There's still a lot to play for and still a lot can happen in that time.
Yeah, absolutely right. The number 8 car and the 510 car both still trying to trundle back to the pits. They haven't even made it back to the pit lane at this stage, so they will be jumping in soon. The 112 car has jumped into the pits too, and at the moment the fight is on for the top 3. I think Bezelhoff has got a lot of work to do. He's got Ivanov right behind him and not giving him a single millimeter at this stage. Ivanov will know that he's up in a good position. He's got fastest lap at the moment. See, that time will drop rapidly, I suspect, down the S as we go for the second time in this race. Technically the third if you include the outlap. But nonetheless, this is a really close little battle here, and Bezelhoff will probably have some defending to do down the Conrod straight, because that slipstream on this very, very long straight will be quite powerful. Pedchenko in 4th place, and then Benjamin Eck, who's managed to find himself a little bit of a gap back to P6. Gardby is having an interesting time with Zach Dahl, about 0.1 of a second, but looking upward, Ivanov had a little look, tried to force the defensive move from Bezelhoff, but Bezelhoff didn't buy into it too much, and running wide is Stuchecki, putting all sorts of pressure on Ivanov. Very difficult to overtake when you're under so much pressure from behind. Yeah,
it's pick your moment. Do you defend or do you attack? That's the question, isn't it? Like, as we've seen now coming into the last corner, he looked like a move from the inside, possibly from Verona. He does get a reasonable run, though. The new fastest lap of the race.
Big contact! Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That is Verona, who's tried to slide up the inside on Zach Dahl and Gardby, and taken Gardby completely out of this race, and Zach Dahl was collected in that as well. So Verona making a huge mistake, unfortunately, down into hell corner and creating a bit of hell for those 2 other drivers who he's taken out. That's going to be the steward on top of that momentarily. Oh my goodness. Some wild fighting happening down a little bit further down the grid here. This is brilliant, brilliant stuff to be on board with.
It's super tight through those sections, and the drivers are opting to drive so wheel by wheel, side by side, up the hill they go. Oh, it's very tight round there.
Oh, crikey. Yeah, that's you don't want to be side by side through the top of the hill there, I tell you. Santo does manage to make the move, and Zach Dahl got very squiggly on the exit of McFalmey Park, goes into the barrier, so his car is obviously quite damaged from that contact in turn 1 from Verona. And oh, he's gone. He's completely gone. Oh dear, into the barrier. Oh, please careful. Please be careful at this stage. Look at that Mercedes. It is absolutely ruined.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And he's into the wall a second and a third time by the looks of it there, George, as well. So, oh, he's really struggling to get that car around, and the cars are now piling up behind him also.
You hate to see it. You really do hate to see it. He's actually got Garby now behind him, who will come through. And yeah, that Mercedes has got no power on the straight. I suspect the wheel has turned about 90 degrees to the side just to go straight ahead. And is that Verona? That is Verona, who initiated all of that contact early on, trying to send it now on Garby again. Obviously coming out pretty much none the worse as far as I can tell. Fastest lap's just been stepped by Panchenko. And there is still no action up the top. All the top 4 still as it is at this stage. Garby comes into the pits. Very sensible move there. Zach Dahl will also be in the pits, I have no doubt. But Verona here will be going and taking a walk to the steward's office after the race for that one. A huge send in the previous lap at that corner that he's just gone through, taking out 2 cars. And oh look, we've got a bit of action happening up here. Ivanov has lost out to Sachecki, who's found a way past at Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, got the move done. Just looking at the timing boards there, the top 4 seem to have broken away just a little bit from Benjamin Eck, but Benjamin Eck finding himself with plenty of space there in P4, 5 seconds behind to Rubla, but the top 4 are running away with it indeed, just a couple of tenths of a second between the 2 drivers that we're currently on board with, in Ivanov and Panchenko. Sachecki getting the move done, promoting himself up into P2, and he will want to be hunting down Bezahov now after stealing the quickest lap in qualifying off Sachecki. Game on.
Too right, and we've just seen someone absolutely go for it. That was Hartog, I believe, who's returned immediately to the pits. So Hartog having an issue at Skyline, straight into the barrier. Unfortunately, we're not able to catch that on the cameras, but yeah, all of this fighting, as you were saying, between Sachecki and Ivanov is music to the ears of Bezahov, who goes, okay, I can just relax just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. I don't have the Ferrari right on my tail end now at this stage, and yeah, the battle will continue. Panchenko trying to find a bit of clean air, and now right on the back of Ivanov. So I wonder if Ivanov's just fallen off the pace a little bit, not quite sure what's happened. Fastest lap will now go to Sachecki at 2:01.232. And yeah, so some drivers having a bit of an issue around the grid, unfortunately. Hartog being one of those. We've had Curtin as well involved in that early contact on the grid, now right at the back of the grid. And the 512 car as well oh no, the 512 car has disappeared from track view, unfortunately. 112 car also just having an issue there. We couldn't quite catch it on the cameras. Verona coming into the pits. So let's go back on board with the top 4 fight.
Working their way up the hill once again. Bezahov in the lead with 4 tenths of a second over Sachecki. Ivanov in close contention with Panchenko right behind. I bet Benjamin Eck in P5 at the minute. He's just rubbing his hands going, come on guys, keep battling, because he's starting to close the gap a little bit. I think he's now currently at 1.6 seconds behind, but keeping himself within intentions. If he can get into the slipstream, follow this battling pack in front of him, he could pick up some places during the course of the race. 50 minutes of course left in this race. Super exciting to watch. The onboards look absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting to be on board. And oh, that car sliding through into Forest Elbow, which is what you've got to do, because you've got a hard right-hand turn, followed by an immediate braking zone. So the car is falling down the hill on the left-hand side, but you've got to pull it into the right and then hit the brakes while you're under turning. And the car does not want to be compliant at that part of the track at all. It wants to disappear into that barrier, basically a magnet into the barrier. So some real control there being shown by all these drivers around the grid. And Eki is absolutely on for a brilliant position. He's currently sitting 5 seconds above of Enrubia, who's back there in the Lamborghini. So he's holding on to this pack of 4 at the top, and as he said, he's just sort of rubbing his hands and just waiting, saying, look, I'm happy to wait. You guys just battle it out. I'll be sitting here. And if something happens between these top 4, he'll be there to pick up the pieces, or the Lego pieces, maybe.
Yeah, Benjamin Eck currently P17 in the driver's standings. Took a P11 last time out and a very poor race in round 1, P23. He finished in that one. So yeah, conserving some tyre maybe, just putting the laps in, keeping the time close to the guys in front, where the guys in front are battling, they're defending, they're attacking, they're chewing up their tyres. Yeah, Benjamin Eck in a very, very good place at the moment. I think he'll be super happy with his race so far. Still a long way to go though.
Yep, very long way to go. This is a long race. 60 minutes does start. Oh, wow, that's Tcheki. He's trying to move on around the outside, up through the cutting, and oh, there's contact between Bezelhoff and Ivanov. Bezelhoff's been put in the wall. Ivanov has put him in the wall there, unfortunately, and he's lost out. Bezelhoff, in the space of 2 corners, has lost 2 positions to Tcheki with the opportunistic move into Quarry, has now found a way past and will take the lead of this race as it stands now. And Ivanov getting very opportunistic through McFalmey Park there and Reed Park. He's managed to find a way through, but not without incident, unfortunately. And I suspect that Bezelhoff will be keen to get that reviewed by the stewards, because it looks like he was pushed wide straight into a barrier. And we'll see if we can look at the car on the right-hand side. Yeah, there has absolutely been contact with the wall and with Ivanov. Ivanov now under pressure from him because Bezelhoff is going to get him. I think maybe that's a redress. I'm not 100% sure. It didn't look like Ivanov fought that very much. Bezelhoff does go back through to take P2 again, and Ivanov will have to try again and maybe make it clean this time. I think into the pits maybe for Bezelhoff, though. Just a defensive line into Murray's Bend, and now Tcheki, who we know was quick, is absolutely flying away with it. The damage there is going to compromise Bezelhoff quite a lot, and Tcheki is maybe going to be unrivaled at this point. That's why Ivanov was so keen to get past Bezelhoff, but both of them being very opportunistic up the hill. Very scary place to happen, but look who it is behind there. He's smelling the Lego pieces on the floor, and he's seen a few barefoot walking around the house, Rob.
Yeah, we called it just moments ago, just sitting there, biding his time, waiting for something to happen up front, and sure enough, something did happen, and very unfortunate there that Bezelhoff is now carrying that damage, because he was very much in contention for an excellent result. I'm just worried, or just concerned, there's still a long time to go. Is that damage going to be significant enough? Because it looks like Tcheki has checked out somewhat.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds up the road already, and only the space of about a lap. So if he's going to pull that kind of a gap, yeah, he will rapidly get out of range of these guys back in P2, 3, 4. Oh, no, Benjamin Eck. Oh dear, he's gone very wide at Sulman Park there. Oh dear, okay, so he was right on the back, but unfortunately, the Lego spread all the way around the grid. He's stepped on a piece himself.
Yeah, the awesome livery of that number 51 AMG. So yeah, I do love that livery. It's absolutely fantastic.
I refuse to stop making jokes about Lego at this stage. It's some people really don't like this livery. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Really, really like it, and I think it kind of suits the Mercedes actually.
Yeah, I think it looks absolutely awesome. I am a fan of the livery, and I hope it continues to provide us some entertainment of these next upcoming weeks. Because yeah, I'm a big fan.
Is that Ivanov into the pits? Yes, it is. So Ivanov has decided to go. That's not the line through the pit lane, unfortunately, but he won't get any kind of penalisation for that. But yeah, Ivanov decides to jump into the pits, and that'll take all the pressure off of Bezelhoff now. He'll be quite happy to see Ivanov gone from next to him, but that's an interesting strategy. Very early pit stop there from Ivanov. I wonder if he's burnt up his tyres a little early. Maybe tried to take less race fuel on board at the... Oh no, they have to take full tanks, unfortunately, so excuse me on that. But yeah, that's very interesting from Ivanov. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, Rob.
I'm just trying to think of the rough race at time. The rough race remaining last week. Maybe he's trying a reverse call of the extended strategy, just shortening the first one by a little bit while the car is heavy. Maybe trying to extend the second stint as the weight of the fuel starts to come off. 44 minutes of this race remaining still does seem a little bit early. Maybe got some bit of damage from the contact earlier on. Who knows on that one, George? But yeah, as you said rightly, out the way now of the battle, which means Bezlov and Panchenko can now settle in, refine the rhythm, because you know, after you've spent a couple of laps battling, you can very much come out of your rhythm and start to damage the tyres a little bit more than you'd want to. So yeah, calm down a little bit, take a breath, and start pumping those laps back in. I think he'll be happy with where he is at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, he's in for the undercut of the century here if he can pull that off. But yeah, 45 minutes on a set of tyres here. With the current track temperatures, I think towards the end of the race, he'll be finding that those tyres start to drop off rapidly. And maybe a little bit of a move there going on at the top of the grid. We'll have a little look. Nearly something happening there. Stachecki running a little bit wide, unfortunately for him. We just had a lovely onboard there with Taran, who's actually found his way up to P6. So he started P12. Obviously not got the qualifying pace, Taran, but he's able to consistently just keep out of trouble and get himself up into a good position. So he will move up to P6, and he's got Artemenko about 1.5 seconds behind him at this stage, or sorry, make that about 6.5 seconds behind him at this stage. And Rubia up into P5. So just a quick look at your top 10 as it stands right now. Goes to Stachecki in P1, Besselhoff in P2, P3 to Panchenko. Then we've got Benjamin Eck still in P4 and hovering. P5 goes to Imrubia, P6 Taran. We've got Artemenko in P7, Rodriguez in P8, and Keenan, who's also jumped up the grid quite a lot, in P9, rounded out by Gonzalez, who's in rapid pursuit of that 78 Porsche.
Yeah, Keenan's made quite a few places in that the opening sort of 20 minutes. So well done to him in the 78 car. He's it's absolutely flying. Gonzalez was quickly practiced, as was Artemenko. Expecting him to see him move forward in the race, and a couple of other drivers as well. Sakdal still in the pits. I know he's back out, so it's quite a lengthy stop from Sakdal as well. So I think there's some damage there. Who else do we have on making moves right now? So Gonzalez just chasing down the back of Keenan, up and down the hill. Who else do we have? Panchenko, 0.4 of a second over P2, so that battle continues to rage on. Ivanov is back out of the pits now, P14 for him, with plenty of fresh air to drive into. So I still think that pit call was a little bit early, George, so maybe damage needing repairs.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that, and it also explains why Zach Dahl had to sit in the pits for so long. Fortunately for him, with that huge bit of contact at the Hell corner from Verona, and then essentially the car being so damaged that he just binned it 3 or 4 times up and down the hill. Very unfortunate for him. But yeah, the big position changes here. So Keenan is up 10 positions. Rodriguez is up 6. Taran's up 6 positions. Fernandez in P11, who we're on board with now, up 13 positions on the grid. So it's right at the back of the grid. Now he's right at the middle of the grid. Alan Brown also having a pretty good day out, despite what the front of that BMW is looking like. Up 11 spots at the moment. Saberla as well. All of these guys were involved in a big bit of contact on lap 1. Very wide there from Saberla in the McLaren, the red McLaren. Ivanov, of course, has just pitted. That's why he's so far down the grid. Veldman was another big loser, unfortunately, from the first few laps of this race. Down 7 positions. Gardby down 12. Of course, that big contact, but he has managed to come into the pits. He's all repaired up on his damage, and he's found a bit of time to start driving away from this car, Verona, the 402 Audi, who had a huge send into Hell corner on, I think it was lap 3, that just didn't work out, fortunately. And then Zach Dahl, of course. So all of these guys here, those 3, losing out about 10 or 12 positions on the grid, sadly. And the rest of the grid looking pretty good, other than Besselhoff, who has gone from P1, and unfortunately with an opportunistic move from Stachecki and Ivanov, has fallen down just a little bit in the standings to P3. And Benjamin Eck there, just getting past a bit of blue flag traffic, will continue to run through. And is that Panchenko through on Besselhoff? Yes, it is.
It is indeed.
Crikey.
Yeah, gets the move done. trying to work out where they're coming into the final corner now. So yeah, gets the move done through down into Comrade. So maybe one round the outside, or maybe manage to get into the slipstream and get the move done before the heavy braking zone. Yeah, so up to P2 he goes.
Too right, and on your screen right now is a little bit of a lap comparison, so you can have a little look at the screen timings there between Bezlhoff and Panchenko. Panchenko at the moment obviously just getting up a little bit further in the grid there. They're 3 seconds behind Stachecki though, so Stachecki is really running away with this race. Not extending the lead as fast as he maybe would have liked, but hard to do that when you're when you're at Bathurst. I was about to say when you're in McLaren, but that's not really true. When you're at Bathurst, very difficult to extend the lead unless you really are significantly faster. Your opponents behind you have some sort of damage or limiting factor, which is definitely the case with Bezlhoff. I know that he's definitely carrying some damage from that contact. I mean, he was basically put into the wall by Ivanov, and Ivanov again. No criticism of any of the drivers on the grid. This is racing, of course, and the stewards will be there to make those judgments post-race, so everyone can look out for those results later on. We do have some penalty points that have been applied through the standings. Might just run through those as we watch this part of the race. So just bringing up the standings now and picking up some penalty points at the moment. Got the likes of Zach Duran, who's picked up 4 penalty points. Not sure, that might have been at Imola. We've also got Fernandez, he's picked up 4 penalty points as well, and then Marcel Weiser as well, who I don't think we've got on the grid today, but 4 penalty points for him as well, in amongst some, what we're trying to figure out as DSQs, but they're not disqualifications from the championship, but they may represent something else. We're going to double check that with the race organisers and the stewards just to make sure we understand exactly what's going on. But yeah, so a few up the grid, picking up some issues, and we've just had a new fastest lap from Ivanov, so that's a 2-minute 0.9. So yeah, about a second off where we were in qualifying. It's still pretty good. He's got his head down now, Rob, and I think he's just saying, right, I've got clean air, time to really send it, and like I said before, this could be the undercut of the century here.
Yeah, car repaired, fresh tyres. Obviously no refueling allowed on this race, so they are fueled for the race. Nearly coming up a few minutes, 7 minutes away or so from the halfway mark. He's already gained 6 seconds in clean air onto the 63 McLaren in P13, so he's absolutely flying right now. I'm still dubious that he can make this cut work, because I still think the gap was a little bit too much. But obviously, if he had to repair that vehicle, maybe he was just losing too much time over the lap, and it made more sense to get the repairs made and get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, if that was me and I had some damage early on, I'd probably look at doing the exact same. Obviously, it means that you can put in some good laps early on in the stint, but running long, you'll have to put up with the fact that your tyres will be complaining, I think is the technical term, by the end of the race, because they're not going to be particularly happy with it, and there will be a bit of graining on the car's tyres at the later stage of this race. But you know, if he can pull this undercut off at the moment, like I said, he's been going very, very good in terms of his timings at this stage, putting in better lap times than the top 3 he was fighting with. So, you know, if the top 3 were to pit right now, I suspect he might have jumped up into P2. Probably not quite enough to get past Stachecki. Stachecki's been sort of averaging around 201.5s, but even off at the moment, yeah, with the 2 minutes at the moment being the last couple of laps, yeah, he might be in range of that P1 position, but yeah, it's all about looking after the tyres towards the end of this lap. He's already up on his time again as we get these fantastic onboard shots here, and looking pretty smooth on the controls as well, so car looking pretty happy. That's a bit of a slide though into elbow, so he'll go deep into there. Now he's got some traffic to deal with ahead of him.
Yeah, full commitment through there. Did lose a bit of time running in a bit deep, as you said, but into elbows, losing a lot of time down the straights as well. About 0.3 of a second lost on that lap. But you know, 0.3 of a second on a very fast lap. He's still a very fast lap. He's definitely lapping a little bit quicker than the guys at the front. Just concerns for myself that the tyres are going to start, technical term again, complaining towards the end of the race. They will not be very happy with him going through that twisty section, that's for certain.
That's right. on board now with Alan Brown in the BMW. It's looking a little bit worse for wear, but should be okay for the remainder of the race, or at least until the pit stop. There is a yellow flag. That's Verona. Verona's in the wall in a massive way, up there by the cutting. Oh dear. What a horrible place to be stuck on track, and got a bit of a gap here. Oh, crikey. Sends it into the wall a couple of times, trying to turn it on. This is the classic Bathurst 8-point turn. Plus damage, but done well there just to hold the brakes and stay stationary while the rest of the cars get through. So that's going to drop Verona further down the grid, and not having a great day out so far is Verona.
Yeah, it's not been the best of events for Verona, unfortunately. The 402 looked very promising early on in the practice session, and a very good qualifying time, but completely, backwards since the beginning of the race. Currently sat P25 in the standings, but we do know there is a very good driver in Angel Verona, very high, held very highly regarded driver in the FRL Racing League, and well, his sim grid score is absolutely phenomenal. So there is a very quick driver there, but I think he's just not been his day today, and he's gone backwards.
Yeah, some tracks you have a good day, some tracks you just don't have a good day, and Bathurst is one of those tracks where you do need to find those opportunities to overtake. And speaking of opportunities to overtake, Ivanov, oh no, yeah. So rides the curb into the chase, and yeah, that has ended very poorly for Ivanov and ruined his day completely. That was very opportunistic, too wide through that very fast right-hander is not a great idea, sadly, and that's caught out the Ferrari driver massively there. Not sure how much space was given to him by the car ahead, who was Alan Brown. Not sure if there was maybe enough space given, but it was looking very opportunistic in there for Ivanov, and it's just not worked out for him. Meanwhile, we've had Panchenko come into the pits, so now down in P7 as he's completed his mandatory pit stop. Benjamin Eck has also completed his mandatory pit stop and is currently sitting there in P8. Although my timing screens at the moment say that's P9 and P10, which makes sense because Alan Brown is out ahead of them. There is, though, a 6-second gap between Panchenko and Eck. So Eck has just fallen away from those top fellas. Now, as we do hit half distance, most of the field has actually already pitted. So a lot of them due to damage, a lot of them slightly earlier in the race, but we are reaching that half race distance. And we can't go too much further without mentioning Stachecki here, who is running away with this race 5 seconds up the road from Bezelhoff at this stage.
Yeah, he was just needed that moment to get himself in front. Not a bad qualifying for Stachecki, but he was very much off his practice pace, so maybe he had a bit of couldn't quite get the lap together, but we do know that there are some very, very quick lap times from him. He knows his way around the circuit, so maybe just maybe a little bit disappointed with his qualifying position, but now he's in front, 5.5 seconds to the good, clean air, nothing but glorious views, no cars to be seen, head down, let's get on with it.
Yeah, too right. Yeah, he's been impressive in the first couple of races of the season, and we know that he's a championship contender. Obviously got a very high rating as well. His racecraft, though, I mean, that overtake into the cutting was just, I mean, actually, sorry, not the cutting, into quarry, was actually unbelievable. It's very, very rare to see a car to even think about going up the inside at that point, and that's what created the situation for Bezelhoff, who ended up picking up some damage with contact with Ivanov. And yes, Stachecki, it was a great, great move, absolutely brilliant stuff. And that racecraft of his is what's really helping him out here, because he's just consistent. When you see one of those all-round drivers, when they can put in a good qualifying lap, and let's be honest, despite maybe his slight disappointment, a little bit of contact with the wall there, it was a very competitive and good qualifying lap. It really, really was, speaking objectively. But he's also got the consistency in the race and the overtaking opportunism. So you put all that together, and you do get a very, very good driver in the 144 car, and that's why we see him with a great lead and out in P1 at this stage of the race. But yeah, just looking down your top, well, let's just look down the remainder who haven't pitted, and Stachecki is coming into the pits now, which makes sense. I get the feeling we will see Bezelhoff come into the pits as well. Yes, we do. Artemenko currently sitting in P3. I'm not sure if he'll be coming into the pits just yet. Might be doing so. The lap times have been coming down for Artemenko, but so far, nice quiet race for Artemenko at this stage of the race. Oh, we've had a huge incident. Oh no, it's Brown, Ivanov, and Penchenko. Something massive has happened. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Ivanov again involved in contact, and he's stuck in the wall at this stage, tries to rejoin. So down the S's, Alan Brown and Ivanov, I think, have come together. And oh no, Ivanov's just, oh, that's Brown. Brown's just tagged Stanto there and sent him into the barrier. Oh no, oh dear, oh dear. Rob, that's a fiasco if I've ever seen one. Ivanov has come around that corner, and there's been Santo and Brown stopped there. And look who it is. I think that's Zach Dahl there. Has been picked up in that as well. Oh dear, it couldn't get any worse for these guys.
Yeah, it's always the big problem at Bathurst. Obviously, with that first corner, it's completely blind as the car just launches itself over the hill, and if there's cars facing the wrong way stationary, it's very difficult to see them coming up. Absolute disaster. It's the second time Ivanov and Brown have made contact in this race, and this time they've took another 4 drivers with them. Ivanov, I'm not sure where he's off to.
I don't think he can turn. I don't think he can turn right.
I think he can't turn. No,
yeah.
He's actually both Ivanov and Brown completely across the grass. Oh,
neither of them could turn right.
Disaster.
Yeah, I get the feeling they've both gone into the right-hand barrier there somehow, which is usually indicative of some sort of issue just through the dipper. So I wonder if they've gone through the dipper together. And absolutely, wow, that's an off there through Hell Corner for Gonzalez. But I do wonder if through the dipper they've maybe tried to go sideways, or one's tagged the other somehow, and it's just sent them flying into the barrier. But the number of cars picked up in that, it's really, really unfortunate. And yeah, Zach Dahl, once again, out of no fault of his own, has been picked up in now 2 big incidents. And I don't think that Mercedes is looking very healthy after this one either.
Yeah, I don't think the Mercedes garage of the 331 Zach Dahl, I don't think they'll have many parts left to throw at that car. It's already had a complete new front end, part of a rear end, and the front is looking worse for weather. Once again, as you say, completely both. Just unfortunate race there for Zach Dahl. Picking up another damn. Will he have to box again? I think, yeah.
I think he's going to have to.
Yeah. Shame.
Yeah, agreed. It is a shame to see that happen. And out of his pit does come Stachecki. I think he was out actually previous lap. But the gap between him and Bezelhoff has continued to increase. Fresh tyres, of course, for both of them now. And they both have come into the pits. The remaining people to pit is Alan Brown. So I guess, in a way, lucky for Alan that he hadn't completed his mandatory pit stop before that contact. Now he can just get himself back in the pits, get it all repaired. It will be a very long pit stop for him and Ivanov. And Zach Dahl in the pit.
Top 2 just gone in as well, so Stachecki regains the lead of the race.
Brilliant.
Just gone in. Yeah, that's everybody in, and now apart from Brown.
Let's try and find that.
Just looking at the time, Stachecki still 7.2 seconds to the good over Bezelhoff. Benjamin Eck now in P3. So what's happened to Penchenko? He seems to have fallen further down the order, and he's quite some way behind the leaders.
Yes.
Rubler is in P4 now with the quickest lap of the race in the 720 Lamborghini. I'm not sure what's happened there, George.
No, there's clearly some damage to the back of Penchenko's car. I wonder if he's just run off or put it in the barrier somewhere. Maybe some contact trying to get past a back marker, or he certainly wasn't picked up in any of that action that was happening at Forest Elbow the previous lap. But yeah, you're right. He's fallen down and is sitting, I think, somewhere in the order of 13 or 14 seconds behind Benjamin Eck. So he's completely miles off. I think he must have had some sort of major issue there, as you say. And Rubia, still on the back of, well, now on the back of Benjamin Eck, fighting now for a podium position with Panchenko miles down the road. So, yeah, real switch-up happening there as we saw the rest of the action happen on track. Not sure what's happened there at all, sadly. We'll try and take a look on our screens and figure this out. But Bezelhoff as well, and this is actually really interesting, Eck is right on the back of Bezelhoff as well. So Eck, who had fallen back quite significantly, obviously had quite a good pit stop. Bezelhoff would have been repairing the damage that he had picked up from the lap 3 incident. So that's put him right back in the range of Benjamin Eck. And Benjamin Eck here, he's right in the battle for this podium position. If he can hold on to it for the next 23 minutes or 24 minutes, he's right in there to pick up his first podium of the season. But same goes for Rubia. This will be his first podium of the season. And same with Bezelhoff. So all three playing it out now for the top, well, from P2 down. One of them is going to end up in 4th place, but Rubia on an absolute charge right now, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so as you said, not quite sure the reasonings why there's a bit of a switch around, but 10 seconds now off the pace. Oh, as we see, who's that?
That is Curtin. Yeah.
Curtin, yeah, he's turned his Mercedes around.
We just had a bit of contact there between Curtin and Zach Dahl. So don't know what's going on there. Maybe, yeah, something happened down at the chase and they both got sideways there. Zach Dahl got out of it and hasn't picked up any more damage at this stage after having to pit again. But Curtin being sent round for a bit of a spin there. Sorry, back to you.
Yeah, so I think that would have just been heartbreaking if Zach Dahl would have picked up even further damage to that Mercedes. Very, very close now in Rubia, just 2 seconds, 0.2 of a second on the back of Benjamin Eck in the Lego car. As Stachecki puts in a new fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 0.6 for him. He continues to pull away from this battle that is continuing to grow in those P2, 3 and 4 positions. Bezelhoff just a couple of seconds up the road, but Benjamin Eck can see him in the distance, so he's not out of the way just yet. 22 minutes left in this race. Podium definitely not decided at this point.
No, the battle really is going to be for this P3 position. Benjamin Eck and Rubia absolutely going for it at this stage. Panchenko has not been making up a huge amount of time down in P5. And now has Artemenko, who's been absolutely flying. Stachecki has just taken the fastest lap of the race again, so a 2 minute 0.685. Ivanov now down in P15 at this stage. And yeah, fixed up on the car damage, but that Ferrari team not going to be particularly happy at this stage. Excuse me. They have repaired that car about 3 times this race. So, and about 3 or 4 times in qualifying as well. So they might be running, they've got plenty of money, the Ferrari team, so they should be able to repair that all back up. It shouldn't be a big problem there. And Rubia has just not had a great time down the S's, so has lost out a little bit of time there. But yeah, so Bezelhoff is actually driving off into the distance. I don't think Eck and Rubia are going to have the pace to chase down Bezelhoff. We know obviously how fast he is. Bezelhoff is unlikely to be able to catch up with Stachecki, who's out to a nearly 9-second advantage at this stage and holding the fastest lap, so absolutely flying on track. Right now, the battle really is for this final podium position in P3. Eck has it at the moment. It would be the best position in the season so far for both of these drivers, and it comes attached with a really, really large amount of championship points as well. So it'll send, either one of them is going to get sent up the grid. Even if they get in 4th place, it's going to really improve their championship standings.
Yeah, big points on offer for those two if they can get that final spot in the on the podium. Benjamin Eck currently sat P17 in the championship with a finished 23rd in race 1. Finished 11th in race 2. That puts him on 21 points, so that's going to fire him right up that grid order. And Rubia currently sat P14 in the championship, P8 first time out, but unfortunately DNF in round 2, 28 points currently for him. So again, big points on offer. And like we said earlier on as well, there's quite a few people that are not driving today, so they will not gain any points. So yeah, they'll be looking to move forward in the championship.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity when folks decide to not make well, decide or cannot make it to the grid. Of course, we prefer to have everyone on the grid, but yeah, with the drop rounds involved, obviously, you know, not coming to one of the races in the championship is not a complete disaster. That will obviously be scratched from your record if that's your worst result, which is not showing up is probably pretty much your worst result. But whether it's, you know, on purpose or whether you just can't make it, obviously that's tricky to ship these GT3 cars around the world, very expensive as well, and sometimes life gets in the way, Rob. So sometimes not something you can make happen. And the fastest lap now going to Ivanov, who's actually ended up with a 2-minute .5. So back on another charge, but is nowhere near the top positions at this point. And sadly for him, I think after that big contact with Alan Brown twice in 2 laps, yeah, it's not really going to be his day today, sadly, for Ivanov. And of course, we know how fast he is on board now with Alan Brown, who's been involved in a bit of contact, sadly, today, but has had a reasonably solid drive other than that. Again, we'll leave all the decisions on who was at fault for incidents to the stewards. It's not our role as commentators to tell you that. And I think we've just had another dropout. So we've had a start with 24 cars on the grid. Sadly, 7 cars have had major issues or significant damage that has taken them out of the race so far today. And always unfortunate to see, to be honest, but sometimes that is just the nature of racing. Gonzalez and Fernandez now having a little bit of a battle on track. The rest of the grid is very, very spread out at this stage. The only other battle happening on track is that for P3, which we will go back on shortly. But these two having a nice little battle for P9.
Yeah, it's good stuff there. I've just noticed Verona has been in the pit for quite some time. I'm not sure whether this is his first pit. I already thought he had stopped. So he's in the pits again.
Wonder if he's picked up some damage, because he's definitely pitted earlier in the race.
Yeah, I think so. He'd already made his mandatory pit stop as we see another fastest lap for Ivanov now, 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes and a couple of tenths of a second for him. So he's really, really on a charge, but 71 seconds away from the next car in front. I think that will be as if you can close that gap down. GG's, but yeah, I think that'll be his race as good as done. Stachecki, 9 seconds to the good now in P1 with a little over 15 minutes remaining of this race. Job's as good as done, would you say, George, or anything can happen at this circuit?
Oh, anything can happen at this circuit, and one big crash, that 9-second gap suddenly looks a lot smaller, unfortunately. So some battles now starting to happen on the track. So it's not over yet. I mean, it's not over till you know, and until the checkered flag is out and you've crossed the finish line. And this is one of those tracks you don't underestimate. If you feel like the race is over, it's not over. You've just got to be absolutely on point from the start line all the way to the end of the race. Otherwise, you will find yourself potentially in big trouble. And now Gonzalez is right on the back of Fernandez and looking to try and make a move. These two McLarens looking to maybe go side by side here. Hopefully space is given. Yep, both of them get through. Yep, that was nicely done indeed. So Gonzalez will move up.
You might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe Gonzalez and Fernandez are indeed teammates in the same racing team.
Ah, they might well be. Let's just double check there. It is Sire, and they've both got different team liveries on at the moment, though I'm not 100% sure. Can't confirm at this stage.
No, maybe I'm wrong.
They may well be. There certainly are compatriots. I think both hailing from Spain, as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure where they're living at this stage, but yeah, 45 minutes gone in this race, and that was a nice little overtake from Gonzalez. And Fernandez didn't really fight it. Not a lot you can do when you've got such a big overspeed down the Conrad Straight at the end of the day. And now we've got Ivanov here. He's currently on the back of this little chain here between Verona and Gardney. So Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is going to be. I don't know where Siberlia is at this stage. Siberlia is a lap down, so that's Garby. He's a lap ahead of both Verona and Ivanov at this stage. So technically speaking, this is not a battle. Verona and Garby, we know, are on similar pace. We know Ivanov is faster than them, so this is a bit backwards at the moment because if Verona or Ivanov overtake. It's a move for Ivanov. He can do that for P13 on Verona, but neither of them really are in a position to overtake Garby because he's a lap ahead of them, and they will be blue flagged if they decide to go ahead of them. Oh, that was a little bit of contact with the wall from Verona there, and the battle here between these two getting a little bit spicy.
Yeah, you're going to have to be very, very careful in this situation with, you know, a lead car in front. He's trying to make inroads from his earlier excursions in the race. Actually, he's been in the pits quite a few times now. We know he's got pace. He's currently got the fastest lap of the race, a little over 13 minutes to go. So he is entitled to move forward, but it does become very, very tricky with the that car in front. You are allowed to unlap yourself. I'm not sure how beneficial it will be at this point to get into that battle, but he will want to make the move, get the move done. Yeah, tricky one, difficult one to call.
Very tricky, and I think at this stage, if you've had that much contact in the race, obviously you want to look to consolidate some points, but at the same time, you don't really want to be back in the pits again. So is it really worth trying to fight to unlap yourself? In 13 minutes, you're not going to go around the track and overtake this person. So
no, absolutely not.
You know, you need to be very careful. Verona is, oh dear, looking to overtake and get past Garby, but Garby does not have to yield here to either of them, but actually will he has indeed. That's probably a smart move from Garby. Just let them go through, mate. You know, you're not in the fight at this stage with P10. You're miles down the road at this point. Well, it's not too far, actually. I've got to be honest, actually. It's actually not too far from Garby, so this could actually hamper him trying to get up into the top 10. But if these two cars are going a lot faster, and they are, because Ivanov has done a 2-minute .282, which is very fast, and we've got to go back on board here because Benjamin Eck is now under significant pressure from Rubia. 12 minutes left in this race. That's about 6 laps remaining. Bezelhoff and Stachecki are miles down the road now, separated by 9.7 seconds and 6 seconds back to this pack. But currently, this little fight here from these two is one that we need to stay on board with.
Yeah, this is the one that is for the big points and the final podium spot here this evening at Bathurst. They've been battling lap after lap after lap now, so you know, full concentration, doing a very, very good job keeping the car on the good stuff. But Enrubler will want to take that spot, so like as you said earlier, there's still just over 11 minutes to go. The battle will continue.
Yeah, that's right. And as we mentioned before, this is going to be their best result for either of them. And oh, is that a little look in through Skyline? Not the place you want to be overtaking, but it forces Eck to go very defensive, goes very, very, very wide through into the S's, and down the dipper they go, nice and clean. And Ruby is all over the back of this Mercedes AMG. And yeah, defensive line once again. That'll probably compromise him on the straight. We know the Lamborghini. Oh, there's a bit of contact with the wall for Eck. That's going to compromise him even more. And the Lamborghini will now get the power down. And I was about to say the Mercedes is probably one of the top cars in terms of straight line speed. Luckily for him, holds the inside line there, giving Enrubia as little room as possible. But Enrubia has gotten the nose ahead. Benjamin Eck comes into the background. Can he get into the brakes? No, Enrubia has taken P3 in this race, and Eck had nothing, no answer. The exit on Forest Elbow, just compromising him completely. But I suspect we will see Benjamin Eck try and come back in the last 10 minutes of this race. Got about 5 laps to do this in. Take advantage in the Mercedes of the long straight and see if he can just stay in the slipstream of the Lambo, which will be better up and down the main part of the hill. And I'll be honest with you, Bezelhoff is not looking that far ahead at this stage, though on track for 7 seconds. It might as well be an entire lap.
Yeah, I think I can't imagine they're going to be troubling Bezel off at any point during this remaining 9.5 minutes, just over 9.5 minutes. Look, Benjamin Ecke's going to want to keep on at the back of that Lamborghini, and as you said, compromised himself a little bit with the exit onto the back straight down in towards Conrad, which gave and Rubler the run that he needed. He's all over the back through the S's, absolutely phenomenal. Well, not through the S's, up the hill they go. Super stuff to watch. You can't take your eyes off this one for a second, because this is not over yet.
That's right. Yeah, and you know, yeah, being able to follow a car through the hill as well is really difficult, because all the braking markers become obscured with the car in front. So a really good job from anyone who is following through that section. It's very tricky, very mentally intensive, but this is the corner you have to get right. Forest Elbow, get a good run out, and it'll really slingshot you down Conrad Straight, the fastest straight on the track by a long margin, and a great opportunity to overtake into the chase, the left-hander at the end of this one. And yeah, X got a reasonably decent run there, but not as good as he needs it to be. Still not in range for ascend, and it's going to have to go round for another lap behind Enrubia. And I have to admit, Enrubia in that Lamborghini looking very settled, very comfortable, not under pressure, not feeling like they're having to go too defensive against Eck. So obviously he feels like he's got a bit more pace on the car at the moment, but look at the difference in the braking zone there. Eck on the brakes late and hard, and brings it in very cleanly through Murray's corner. And if he can do that for a few laps in a row, look, he's just so much better on the entry. So the Mercedes looking very comfortable under the entry of the corner. I think Pachenko's just had another issue there. It's dropped back even further from this group, so 14 seconds now the gap. And by the way, Ivanov as well. These two, Verona and Ivanov, still in a bit of a battle. By the way, Gardby has in fact caught up to the back of Fernandez. So we were just saying, Gardby might have been on for a P10 if he hadn't been lapped by, or relapped by the traffic behind him. But he's actually found his way up all the way back to the back rear spoiler of Fernandez. And that's great stuff. I don't think he's lapped either. So this could well be for position. I think he's literally there right behind Fernandez, who's dropped off the back of Gonzalez by 10 seconds. So maybe Fernandez had a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I think Fernandez has had an issue there, because they were driving virtually side by side. Fernandez and Gonzalez. Garby was in a bit of a no man's land, but now very much fighting, potentially take a P10, top 10 position. He'll be happy to see a car. He's been in a bit of a race on his own for quite some time. Yeah,
the doldrums, as I like to call them, just sitting in the middle of nowhere, no wind, no nothing, just having your own little race, which is sometimes a bit of fun. The battle continues, of course, between Verona and Ivanov at this stage, but the one we really want to keep an eye on is these two here. And unfortunately for Eck, just is not finding the pace he needs to in the middle sector of this race, and that's just causing him not to really find the time to get the good run with that Mercedes big powerful engine. Starts to close up into the end of sector 3 here, and that is a lot closer than he's been in the last couple of laps. So maybe this could be it. This really could be it here. Let's go on board with Benjamin Eck at this stage and see what he's able to do. Yeah, looking pretty smooth through Hell Corner. Not too bad there, and we'll get a decent run down the mountain straight, or up the mountain straight, I should say.
Yeah, super smooth exit. Just going to keep, there's still time, still just over 5.5 minutes left of the race. Still time to get something done. Just needs to be patient, close that gap down a little bit by bit. But fantastic drive from both of these guys, and Ruber as well in particular, doing an excellent job. As we've said a couple of times now, this will be their best result, regardless of position. It'll be their best results of the season so far. Both will want to pick up some big points here with those drivers who are not driving today, and it's provided some excellent action for us to watch as commentators, and some excellent action for the viewers as well. So keep going, guys. Keep going. Give us another 15 minutes if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see these guys continue to battle. Maybe a bit of side-by-side action at some point. We will see. And just to continue this, oh, Bezelhoff has had an issue. Oh, Bezelhoff has gone off. A massive issue there for Bezelhoff. Where is he on track? Let's see if we can find him. Yeah, oh wow, the front of that Audi is looking very, very poorly. And this is potentially a big, big shake-up now for the grid, because he's going to be carrying a whole bunch of damage. I think he might have just slipped off during Forest Elbow, and wow, he's had a very big contact with the wall there. His front splitter will be absolutely gone, so he'll be compromised for the remainder of this, and he's got two guys battling at maximum pace, coming up rapidly behind him. This could be a big, big issue for Bezelhoff. Maybe these two won't even have to worry about P2 and P3. They can both get past Bezelhoff in the next 4 minutes, which is entirely possible at this stage. Maybe they won't have to worry about fighting for a podium position. Oh, look how difficult it is for Bezelhoff into the turn one.
Time is absolutely plummeting. George has lost over 5 seconds in that section. I think Rubler will be now going, oh, hello, there's more.
Yeah, that wasn't a car he was expecting to see in the front mirror. But now he does. Yeah, oh, Bezelhoff, it's just, you can see how the car is struggling. It's not hitting apexes. Oh, that gap has come down by another half of a second already. Oh dear, this could be, yeah, he's down by a second in this lap already now. Oh wow, yeah, Bezelhoff, I can't see how he can get this car around the track 2 more times without letting in Rubia and Eck through, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So Bezelhoff's last lap was a 2:06. He's in the barriers again there. The chaps behind him lapping in the 2:01s, and there's Enrubia coming up the background now. Oh, it's all but done.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to just do nothing but fall back now. He might be able to defend through the S's, but the exit into the Conrod straight, I think he's going to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
And Rubin looks up the inside, sends it up the inside, gets the run and gets it done, and Eck follows him through also. Oh, he hasn't got a leg to stand on as Bezelhoff. That car is absolutely suffering. And Rubia pulls in front. Eck continues to stick it up the inside to try and get the move done. Oh. Yeah, it's been, yeah, they are both through safe and sound. Disaster for Bezelhoff with just 1 lap remaining. He's what looked like a dead certain P2, now at P4, fortunately for him, and I think at this point he will just start to fall off the back of the Legoed Mercedes.
That's right. Super gutted for Bezelhoff. A really solid race overall. Qualified P1, fell back to 4th, fought back to P2 after some big contact with Ivanov, and had been doing very, very well until that one mistake just taken him out. And that's why I was saying one mistake here at Bathurst can cost you so much, because it's not just the fact that you've crashed and you've lost a bit of time, it's the damage that you carried, and that's what's cost Bezelhoff. The barriers are meters away, all the way through Sector 2 and Sector 3. One mistake, you're in a barrier, and then you're not just losing time from the contact, you're losing, 6 seconds potentially a lap. And when other chaps are flying around in full send, full courage mode, you've got no chance. And we saw that, both Eck and Rubia just driving past him. 1 minute remaining in this race, so it's all happening now. Some battles still happening down the field as well, but Bezelhoff, he's in no trouble about getting P4. He will secure that. But P2 and P3 for Rubia and Eck, and they'll be absolutely stoked with this at this stage. And Eck can just sort of relax, because technically speaking, he's now actually not lost a position. Obviously, with P2 sitting up in front of him, he'll be thinking, I wouldn't mind a P2 finish at this stage. Let's see if I can send it on Rubia in the last lap. But I'm just wondering, they might not actually have time to come around another. No, they will come around once more, because Sacheki is just about to cross the line and will trigger the white flag in this race, signaling the penultimate lap. And across the line he does go. So white flag is out. Leader is on the final lap of this race, everyone. And of course, big thanks to everyone in the chat who's been viewing today. Oh no, why is he coming to the pits? Oh no, Bezelhoff in the pits. Oh no, he should have stayed out, I think.
Certainly would have just, yeah, I certainly would have stayed out. Oh no, Bezelhoff goes from bad to worse from him. sitting P2, sitting pretty, looking like he's a dead certain P2 for Bezlov. But yeah, if he's coming to repair that car, that seems like a strange call for me. I think he did just get back as he's just leaving the pit box now. I think, yeah, he's coming to repair the car. Oh no, he's not. No.
He's still in there. Yeah, I mean, at this stage, he just. I think he should have just gone round for that final lap. It would have secured him a P4 position, and that still would have been a very healthy number of points. Bear in mind, of course, at the start, he did lose out and get down to P4. He's now sitting in P12. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. That is probably not the right decision. Yeah, obviously you can see how dejected he's going to be with this race, but to miss out on consolidating points from P4, that's big, especially considering he hasn't been up there in the top of the championship at all. And yeah, he'll be sitting there near towards where Ivanov is going to finish in this race. But the battle continues between these two. Stachecki now coming down the Conrad Straight for the last time in this race. It's been basically all the way since he got ahead of Bezelhoff early in this race. It's been a complete masterclass from this driver in the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. Nothing really to report from his race. He's had a pretty boring one, but one that he's come across the line to finish first in. So congratulations to Stachecki. He's done brilliantly today. And now let's just see, will anything happen in the final part of this race? At this stage, just don't crash.
Yeah, just keep it on the grey stuff in the middle. The last thing you need now as they come round the last corner. Murray as they come, and Rubler over the line, takes P2, Benek 0.4 of a second behind, takes P3. They will be so happy with that podium position, the pair of them. They've battled brilliantly throughout the race. Yeah, as I thought Rubler was about to do some donuts there.
Oh, I'm sure he will be.
So happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Penchenko comes across the line for P4, P5 to Veldman. Good result for him. And then we've got Rodriguez, who's flown up the field, gone to P6, which is fantastic stuff. Keenan, quiet race for him in the Porsche, but he'll come across the line in P7. Then Gonzalez will now pick up P8. P9 will go to Fernandez, and Gardby is elevated up into P10. I've just seen in the chat as well, Rob, guessing about Bezelhoff and why he maybe came into the pits is maybe had another big crash at the end of that lap and just had too much damage to even make it round for the last lap. So it's potential that has happened between them. Last little battle on track going on is Fernandez versus Gardby at this stage. Zach Dahl also in the pits, so his race is over. Bezelhoff as well, who'll fall behind Ivanov. But it will be Fernandez that holds on to... Oh, no, Gardby, sorry. Gardby will take P9, and Fernandez will have to settle for P10 at this race. Then finally, we've got the red McLaren of Saberla, who's coming across the line now to finish off the grid. And the other two are already in the pits, so that is the race. GG, and wow, fantastic stuff from Benjamin Eck and Inrubia. Salva and Rubia, best finishes they've had in this league so far. P2, P3. Stachecki takes the win. That's your top three. Wow, really top stuff there. Really top stuff. Absolutely brilliant from everyone on grid. So I guess it's probably time for us to start maybe talking about who is the driver of the day today.
Green light, go.
Oh, that's a real tough one for me today. I'm gonna have to give it to Rubler. I'm taking a P2, absolute brilliant drive. I was struggling between the two. I'd like to give them both one. Stachecki would have been the easy pick for me. Absolutely phenomenal today. Let's not discredit what he's achieved today, but the entertainment that Benjamin Eck and Rubler have provided us has just kept me on my toes all race. So, yeah, that's my pick.
Good pick, yeah. I'd say Inrubia probably deserves at this point. I'm just trying to remember where Inrubia actually qualified. It was further down the grid than Eck, who was up in, I think, P6 or P5. But a brilliant drive from both of them. So honourable mention, of course, to both Stachecki and Benjamin Eck there. Good overall drives from the both of them, but in Rubia, going up from wherever he was on the grid up into P2, absolutely brilliant stuff from that driver. And yeah, we've had a very interesting race here at Bathurst. Kind of typical for Bathurst, I would say. It's been one of those fun ones. And yeah, so that, folks, is your round 3 for the Pure Sim Gear GT3 Masters here at the Formula Racing League. What a race we have had. Exhausting for us in the comms box because there was so much action going around the track. Got a little bit spread out towards the end, but a few battles happening around and a good fight for the top 3 positions right at the end. Some big contact earlier in the race, followed up by a lot of action at the S's and the Dipper. Some very unfortunate results for some of the faster drivers, including the likes of Ivanov, Bezelhov, and Verona as well, who was in big contact with Zakdal and Gardby early on in the race. The stewards, of course, will take a look at all those incidents post-race, and the results will be updated accordingly. So, looking forward now is going to be a special round, August 31st. Make sure you join us here on Formula Racing League TV. Give us a follow if you've been enjoying tonight's broadcast. But it is a 90-minute endurance race at Kyalami, one of the greatest circuits out there, one of my favorites. Although I really hate to drive it, but I love to commentate on it, Rob. But looking forward to that very much because we've got a full set of strategy involved there. And of course, weather and all such of things that could be in effect. So, Rob, how'd you find that race and any final thoughts before we go and round out the stream?
Yes, just phenomenal stuff from the drivers this evening. Absolute wonderful battles to watch between quite a number of the drivers. A lot of misfortune for a few of the drivers, which I'm sure they will shake it off and be back with us next week for the Kyalami 90-minute full stop race where tyres and fuel and all the good stuff. Looking forward to that one, George.
Going to be brilliant. And Rob, it's been a pleasure being in the commentary box with you as always, and on behalf of 00 Raven Comms here, my name is George Cook. You've been joined here by Rob Barker in the commentary box. Glad to have brought you all the action today. Give us a like and a follow on the channel. Really appreciate everyone who has been in chat, everyone who's watching the broadcast in a delayed manner. Hope you've all had a fantastic time watching the race. Congratulations to all our race winners and everyone on the grid today. We will be back next week for Kyalami, so make sure you tune in then, and we will catch you later. Thank you very much. Good night and goodbye.